Hi, this is Jay Billis of ESPN, and you're listening to the ML Sports Platter.
The ML Sports Platter back with you all over the major platforms. Download, subscribe, leave feedback, and a 5-star review. We are brought to you by Welch & Company Jewelers, Brian Comboy of Mass Mutual, New York State, the Syracuse Fitness Store, and our great, great friends at Rosie's Corner. If you're in and around Central New York, make sure you head on over to Rosie's Corner today. They've got awesome hot and cold subs, pizza and wing combinations, and more. And, of course, mac and cheese is available every Thursday and Friday, along with Fish Friday, with your fries and coleslaw as well. Desserts to go, Pepsi products, salads, you name it, all at Rosie's Corner, and gift cards are available for every occasion on Facebook, on Instagram, and they will deliver via Grubhub as well. Rosie's Corner in Brewerton, a proud ML Sports Platter sponsor. Let's talk some St. Bonaventure men's basketball with a terrific beat writer for Pickin' Splinters. It's Chuckie Maggio on Twitter, at Chuckie Maggio. That's at Chuckie, Maggi, and you can go check them out at pickinsplinters.com. Chuckie, great to have you, buddy. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Mike. Always happy to talk Bonaventure basketball.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm obviously in that camp as well. How good can this team be this upcoming season? How good can it get?
Depending on how things go in the non-conference, which it's the most difficult non-conference schedule shaping up to be a Mark Schmidt's tenure. Depending on how that goes, this team could be the top 25 team that people have been talking about, maybe as high as top 15. I've seen some connections and comparisons to the Davidson team, the Davidson COVID-19-20 team. I don't know about that because I don't know if this team has a player as dominant as Obi Toppin, but I think that this team could go deep in the NCAA tournament and for one, accomplish the one thing that the program hasn't accomplished in the last 50 years, which is win a game in the round of 64 and try to get to that second weekend.
So through the years, Mark Schmidt has just found these diamonds in the rough, where they're nobodies to college basketball, but they get to Bonaventure, and it's a perfect Schmidt player, it's a perfect Bona program player, and they grow in the program, and they're not at the time, they might even not even rate, they might not even be a 1 or 2 star, some of them are, but then they become to what Bonaventure is, they become 4 stars, they become 5 stars to that program, to what the fan base sees and Bona country in terms of knowing how important those players are. One of those guys is Jaren Holmes. Have you seen, when did you realize that he was going to take off at St. Bonnie? Because I'll tell you what, man, I know the big three gets most of the attention, right? Welch gets it, Oshun gets it, Lofton gets it, I get that. But to me, Holmes is like that rock of the team, man. He's the guy that just keeps it all together. When did you see him becoming that player that I'm describing inside Schmidt's program?
You can say a bunch of different options, right? But I think that the moment that really sealed it, the moment that everyone really realized how important he was to the team, was that A-10 game at Rhode Island this year, where he was hurt. He had concussion symptoms, and I don't remember exactly what the injury was, but he didn't play in that game due to injury. And you saw how the team performed without him. The offense wasn't as smooth. Things weren't as connected on either side of the floor because he is that leader. He is that guy who knows exactly where he wants the ball to go. And he's a coach. He's the coach out there on the floor. Schmidt always says they've got a lot of coaches on the floor, but he is one very important, obviously, piece to the team. And when he wasn't out there against Rhode Island, everyone knew he was pretty good already, but everyone knew how valuable he was to the team after that loss.
You went to Bona. You get it. You cover the team. You know how important. I know you try to be subjective just a little bit less now and more objective because you're in the business. But let's face facts here, right? I mean, the Riley Center being back to full capacity, and I know you can go SEC, you can go any NFL stadium, you can go to the Major League Baseball playoffs, you can go all over the place, and yet there's still some places I think that rise above others where you're like, man, remember that? Remember that atmosphere pre-corona? Like, what the heck is that building going to be like this year?
I think it's going to be absolutely bonkers. I'll use that word. It's going to be insane. That first Saturday game, whenever that may be, is going to be just absolutely nuts. It'll almost definitely be sold out. I think they've been selling very well on season tickets, and people have been obviously so itching to see this team, and with all the expectations, I don't think there's going to be anything quite like it in the A10 because of the combination of how the team is supposed to do, and just because of how much the city and the town love basketball. It's a special connection, and I think we're going to see it all over college basketball. But for those teams with high expectations, and with the impact that that the arena can have on the team's play when it's jumping, I don't think there will be many comparisons like it in college basketball this year, because I just think it's going to be electric. It's going to be insane.
Chuckie Maggio, the Bonaventure men's basketball beat man for Pick and Splinters. Go get him on Twitter at Chuckie Maggio. Does a great job covering the Red Wings in Section 5 as well. And pickandsplinters.com for more of his work. The schedule is fantastic. I mean, you've got the Charleston Classic, you've got Loyola, you've got Maryland, you've got Virginia Tech. That'll be a tough game. You've got Northern Iowa at home, right around Thanksgiving time. Can you compare the difficulty of this schedule to one in the recent past? Does it compare to one in terms of the challenges, Chuckie?
I think that 17-18 is close because that was a really difficult schedule when you look back at it, and it really prepared them for the rigors of the A10. The Emerald Coast Classic was just fantastic with two really good Maryland and TCU teams. Right. They faced Vermont. They faced Syracuse.
Yep.
They faced a pretty good Northeastern team. It turned out that year. Obviously, UB. That was a very tough schedule. But I think when you look at this year, the fact that they're facing Boise State, which has been a great program really for a while now. Yep. They if you remember the freshman year for Lofton and Oshun and Dom Welch and those guys, they played Boise State down Welch and Oshuni, and they lost to Boise State. So that'll be a tough game already in the first round. Then you got Clemson or Temple. You have a potential West Virginia championship game, which West Virginia is always incredibly tough. Bob Huggins, just an incredible coaching matchup there. And then after that, they have 6 days to prepare for Northern Iowa. That Virginia Tech game is going to be a really high-level game in Charlotte. Virginia Tech is expected to be a top 25 team as well. Virginia Tech plays teams like Memphis and Dayton too. So Virginia Tech has a chance to really elevate its stock before that game. It's going to be a very challenging schedule. There's the rumors, and I think people are expecting a Power 5 team, another Power 5, Power 6 team. I think people have been talking about UConn being on that list in Newark, New Jersey, has been bandied about. Obviously, still some things to finalize there, but you get UConn on the schedule. I don't care who they have. That's a brand name team and a team that's always going to compete in the Big East. It's gonna be an interesting schedule. There's a good mix of very challenging games and games that they're just going to add to the win-loss, and they can't lose. Like, they can't lose to Siena, they can't lose to Canisius. Those teams, Coppin State, but they really made it a challenge. I think Loyola Maryland is going to be a pretty good team too. So it's going to be interesting to see how it ends up stacking up. But I think even Schmidt has said that this is his hardest non-conference schedule yet, and I'll trust what he says about that.
Final one for you. What's your favorite part about covering this program?
It's never boring because there never seems to be a season where the team just stays at the same level all year. Even with years where there's very little expectation, they still make it very interesting to cover them. There's obviously been some insane games and moments and really things to keep you on your toes. But I think just seeing how it's like evolved, like seeing the fan support grow for the team, seeing the interest grow, and seeing people really, really be very interested in every article. It's a thing that you won't get at those Power 5, like those football heavy schools. Like they're focusing on football until late December, January. Like these people are crazy. Like they want coverage 365 if they can get it. So I think that the readership you can appeal to. There's just nothing like it with a small program, but also a program that's all about basketball. And like I said, it's never boring. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens this season.
Chuckie Maggio, the SBU men's basketball beat man for Pickin' Splinters, also a Bonaventure alum in his own right, at Chuckie Maggio on Twitter, and get him at Pickin' Splinters as well, and pickinsplinters.com. We are not that far away.
Go to the site.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Look, Chuckie, you do awesome work. I'll keep pushing your stuff. Thanks for jumping on here, man.
Thank you, Mike. Have a great one.
The ML Sports Platter is brought to you by our good friends at Barks and Rec Doggy Daycare, Sit Means Sit Syracuse, the Vince Aguirre Consulting Group, and Welch & Company Jewelers. Go shop the showcase today at welchjewelers.com. Engagement rings, wedding rings, you name it, necklaces, watches. They've got it all at Welch & Company Jewelers. A big tip of the cap thank you as well to Bryant and Stratton College of Syracuse, Stanley Law Offices, and the Swan and Whitaker families for their support of the platform as well. Can't wait to chat with this next guest of the program. He covers the Panthers for a terrific platform out there. If you don't know about it, it's called The Riot Report, and also covers college football for Athlon Sports. He's also a weekly contributor to a group with the Las Vegas Chronicle, and has just been doing it a long time, covering football, and really enjoy his work. It's Antwan Staley. He's on Twitter at Antwan Staley. Antwan, thanks for a few minutes, buddy. How are you?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Are you looking forward more to the NFL or college football, if you had to pick one?
I mean, I guess if you're forcing me to pick one, I definitely would say the NFL. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to college too as well. It's definitely so many changes that's happened throughout the course of the whole season in college, and I don't know if anybody has necessarily a gauge on who's going to win the national championship at this point. Most people just pick Alabama or Clemson just simply because what they've done recently. But I could definitely see a team like Oklahoma and winning the national championship with everything they got coming back.
So it's interesting that you bring that up because we have so many things going on, right? We've got the name, image, and likeness. We've got Oklahoma, Texas trying to bail to go to the SEC. We've got other conferences and teams making plans for the future. Do you think that college football, Antwan, will go to the NFL model eventually? I mean, it seems almost inevitable, right? With all these programs just switching conferences, that we're going to have almost an east-west, kind of north-south type of thing going on here.
I think with the expanded playoffs that's going to come, I think it's going to bring interesting dialogue, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously with the SEC, you got going to have like a super conference of some sorts. I know the ACC and the Big Ten and the Pac-12 are going to have like this alliance, if you will. This, scheduling, tougher non-conference games. But at the end of the day, yeah, I definitely think you could possibly see that. I thought we have like 4 major conferences anyway at some point. And I still, even though with this alliance, I still feel that way because at a certain point, I mean, the SEC, even if you're spending the playoff, the SEC may get like 6 or 7 teams in that playoff. And, I think these other teams are going to say, how's that fair? And they're going to let the form do what's in best interest for them and let the form a super conference of their own. And, I think we'll have the Pac-12. I think we'll have the ACC and the Big Ten and the Big 12. I don't know how they're going to survive. Just kind of like what happened with the Big East just kind of goes away. And, even though you might be able to get a team like a Boise State in there, it's still not going to be on the same level as having a Texas or Oklahoma.
One thing, though, that makes me a little sad about all this is that, as you know, college football is so regionalized, and it's so about the rivalries that occur with teams that even are right near each other. Auburn, Alabama being probably at the top of the forefront in terms of the Iron Bowl. A lot of that could go away. I mean, it really could because you're going to have team. I mean, it already has started to go away because we don't have Nebraska, Oklahoma like we used to, right? We don't have a lot of that anymore.
Texas A&M, Texas.
Exactly. And I got to tell you, I don't think Oklahoma, Texas in the SEC will be anywhere near what it was in the Big 12 because I just, it's not. They're newcomers to it, man. We know LSU, we know Georgia, we know Auburn, we know Alabama. We don't know Oklahoma and Texas as those entities in the rivalry, and that rivalry there will be some lost luster there when they get to that conference.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be different. It'd be interesting to see if they stay in Dallas too, because that's always a neutral site game. I imagine so, but with the way going into a new conference, they might decide to do a home and home in that whole perspective. But yeah, I mean, I think this all started when Miami and Virginia Tech left to go to the ACC, and then after that, then it just kind of started to shift around. ACC added some more teams. Obviously, the Pac-12 added some teams. Big Ten, then Maryland leaving the ACC, which I think is still weird to me. I just, I always thought Maryland just. Yeah, I just think they're out of place in the Big Ten, but that's just, neither here or there. But, yeah, you're just losing those traditional rivalries, especially regionalized, like a West Virginia, Virginia Tech, or Maryland, Virginia, or like we said about Texas A&M, Texas. You talked about Nebraska, Oklahoma. We don't get that anymore, although we are getting that this year. But, yeah, I just think it's just weird just to lose some of that luster, because college football is about rivalries and, the length of them, and we're not able to get those traditional rivalries like we used to, and Colorado, Utah just doesn't have the same flair as like a Colorado, Nebraska back in the day. But that's just me.
No, it's not just. Yeah, I completely agree. In fact, I remember when I was a kid, that Friday after Thanksgiving, we always used to go up to my grandmother's. I think we used to have like a roast beef and potato and gravy dinner. And every single Friday, flip on, Oklahoma, Nebraska was like the 2:30 game or whatever on ABC. And it was like one of the great rivalries in all of college football. And those are the things that you just miss quite a bit. We're talking some football with Antwan Staley over there at the Riot Report, and Athlon Sports covers it all in terms of the Carolina Panthers and college football. And you can get him at theriotreport.com and follow him on Twitter at Antwan Staley. All right, give me the outlook here, expectation wise. What are you? Give me ceiling floor for this Panthers team in 2021.
I think the absolute ceiling would be probably about 8 or 9 wins. I think offensively, I think they're going to be really good. I thought they were pretty good for the most part last year too at times, but Teddy Bridgewater kind of struggled later on, and playing PJ Walker for a start, and now you upgrade to Sam Darnold, or at least you think you upgrade to Sam Darnold, who I know a lot of people still have questions about him coming over from the Jets, but he's looked good throughout the course of the preseason. The Panthers have been impressed with him. so much they really didn't play him a whole lot outside of the third game, and they believe that he can be that franchise type of quarterback. Remember, he's only 24 years old, so it's definitely still a lot of time for him to develop and grow, and they believe this is a really critical year for him. And, offensively, Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, obviously Christian McCaffrey returns. So I think offensively they're going to be really good. It's just a matter of the defensive end. Can they get the stops when needed? And at times last year they definitely could not. If they can just be a middle-of-the-road defense even, I definitely think 8 or 9 wins is a possibility. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but in that NFC South, outside of Tampa, there's a lot of questions right now. The Saints with Jameis Winston, I think they're probably going to be better than what is expected, but nobody knows exactly how good they're going to be in terms of possibly returning to the playoffs. In Atlanta, they're kind of in the same boat as Carolina, really good offense. Defense is not necessarily really good, so it could be a fun division just to watch throughout the course of the season.
It's going to be a blast. Are you all in on Matt Rule?
I'm not, because I still, it's going into his second year. I just kind of want to wait and see. But, I mean, he has a 7-year contract, so he's not going to go anywhere probably for the next couple of years at least. But, yeah, I mean, last year was just kind of a bit of a wash. I think we kind of knew what we were going to get, especially with them trying to rebuild the roster. This year, I think you need to see some more significant progress with Matt Rule and also Joe Brady, too, as well, the offensive coordinator. And he got a lot of job interviews throughout the course of the offseason. I think if the Panthers' offense is as good as I think it's going to be, he's probably not going to be there in Carolina too much longer, because I could definitely see somebody offering him a head coaching job, whether it be college or the NFL, somewhere down the line. But, yeah, I like Matt Rule. I think he's a nice guy. I think he, obviously knows football, but is he going to be the guy that turns this thing around in Carolina? I don't know. I think that remains to be seen, but, it's still only his second year, so it's definitely still a lot of time, especially when you have such a leftover contract that he does.
I got a couple generic football questions to ask you, and then I'll let you run. For being in East, you went to East Carolina, right?
Yeah, undergrad, and I have a grad degree at Syracuse. So yeah.
Oh, you did go to Cuse.
Yeah.
Okay, no kidding. I could have just done a whole segment on that, I guess. But so what is? I think East Carolina is one of the more underrated programs in the country in terms of just atmosphere and loyalty with the alum, right? I mean, isn't it? East Carolina is a pretty good place to be.
Yeah, football-wise, I think the last 10 years have been kind of, really the last 7 years, really since they let go of Ruffin McNeil, have been kind of rough. But even though you still got the loyalty of the fans, and it's a great football town, they got some really good games coming up this year. Obviously, Thursday night, they got a game against Appalachian State that's going to be critical for Mike Houston and that program. And then after that, they got a game against South Carolina at home. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good time for ECU, but yeah, the program's been really good. As far as tradition and the fan base and the loyalty, and they've done a lot. And football is always big this time of the year in Greenville, North Carolina for ECU. It revolves all around that. So yeah, it's definitely a fun place to be, especially when they're winning. And when I was there, 11, 12 years ago, actually, in undergrad, they were winning.
Oh, they had some good teams. Yeah, they had some good
in Conference USA championships.
Yes. When were you up in Syracuse then? Just 2000? What would that have been? 13 during the Marone era? Did you make that time?
Yeah, I was about around that time. Yeah.
Okay. What are you thinking now about that program? I mean, the way. Goodness, for a little bit there with Dino, the double-digit wins. It was obviously Eric Dungy helped an awful lot, but overall, the Dino, they upset Virginia Tech, you upset Clemson, you have the 10-win season, win the Camping World Bowl, but now we're kind of back to when's it going to get better again? Do you feel that way?
Yeah. I mean, he got a big game coming up against Ohio this weekend, and I think Syracuse. That's a game they need to win. To get some momentum, because you kind of see the birds circling, and a lot of people are talking about Dino Babers, and Syracuse could potentially be one of the first major Power 5 schools that make a move in the coaching ranks to firing. But yeah, it's got a good Ohio team who's traditionally been good, and that's obviously you're playing on the road, but that's a game you definitely need to win. But yeah, I think Syracuse is probably looked at as probably the worst team in the ACC this year, sadly. But yeah, and you go for that 2018 season, which seems like an eternity ago,
Yeah.
and you just really struggle. And this year they may struggle just to get 2 wins on the schedule. Like, that's how bad this team could be roster wise. But I think it's a program where I always think that Syracuse they're not going to win 10 games every year, but there's no reason why they can't be at least where Boston College is, so winning 7 or 8 games every now and then, and maybe squeaking out 9 or 10 after that. But yeah, I think it's a critical year for Babels too, and they have to get off to a good start, or otherwise, you can hear a lot of rumors and talks of what could potentially happen down the line.
I agree 100% in terms of the start. I think that's where it all starts and ends. They've got to get out of the gate with let's say 3 or 4 to start. Let me get you out here on 2 quickies. Give me I know you're a huge video game guy. Give me your favorite video game of all time, and you're a big hip-hop fan, so give me your favorite rapper of all time.
Video games, I probably would go with I love the Legend of Zelda series.
I love it.
I probably would go with that.
All right.
But my favorite video game of all time, I probably would say Mega Man 2 off the Nintendo. And hip hop, I would go with Nas. I think Nas is traditionally, even though a lot of people gravitate to Jay-Z or Tupac or Biggie or somewhere like that, I think Nas is very still underrated, but you're just one of the incredible lyricists and poets and storytellers in the business.
Covers the Panthers for the Riot Report and college football for Antwan Sports. You can get him also as a weekly contributor to the Las Vegas Chronicle on Twitter at Antwan Staley. Check out the work at theriotreport.com as well. Video games, hip-hop, ECU alum, CUSE alum, getting into it all with Antwan Staley. Thanks a lot, buddy.
All right, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
The ML Sports Platter is brought to you by our great friends at Bryant and Stratton College of Syracuse. 2 great locations. Classes are underway, of course, Route 57 in Liverpool and in Syracuse on James Street. They've got a brand new nursing program. They've got events happening all the time. Make sure you go check them out at bryantstratton.edu and, of course, on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And find out what it's like to be a Bobcat. Classes are always starting soon. 2- and 4-year degrees at Bryant and Stratton College of Syracuse, the official college of the ML Sports Platter. Big tip of the cap, thank you as well to the Allen Angus Pub, Stanley Law Offices, CNY Electrical, and Brewerton Ace Hardware. Go get all your paint, go get your grills, go get your pot soil, you name it. They've got some local distributors as well for your pickles and barbecue sauce and other things going on. Brewerton Ace Hardware, Route 11, just off the Bartell Road exit in Brewerton. If you're in and around central New York, Ace is the helpful place in Brewerton. Go get every possible thing you need, interior, exterior, for your home at Brewerton Ace Hardware. Big time thanks to Antwan Staley and Chuckie Maggio for joining me here on the Platter. Hit me on Twitter at Mike L Sports. And as I always tell you, enjoy the games.